Good afternoon. We're back with another interview from City Council District 7 with Merika Goolsby. She's going to get on and tell us all about her plans for District 7 and give the answers to a very important question that we have been asking all of the City Council candidates. So without further ado, let me bring Merika onto the program. Merika, welcome to the show. I'm really happy to have you here. Thank you for throwing your hat in the ring. So this is not a stump speech time. We're going to have that at the end. But just before we get into our question, can you please let our listeners know just a little bit about you? What neighborhood do you live in? And what are you running for?
Sure. So I am Merika Goolsby, and I'm running for City Council District 7. I am a Bay Area native. I was born and raised in San Francisco. I've lived in the East Bay pretty much all of my adult life. I've lived in and out of District 7 specifically since I was 19, and next March I'll be 50. So it's been I have a lot of lived experience in District 7. So I,
Well, I'm sure you know you guys got some problems, but it's still a very beautiful and close knit district. So I'm
yeah,
excited to hear more about your plans.
thank
All
you.
right, on to the tough one. We got policy questions. This is the
Okay.
job of a legislator, and the job ultimately is to write and pass policies that will better the city.
Mhm.
So, what policies in the last 8 years, just name me one or more policies, passed in the last 8 years meant to address an issue that you feel is legitimate, like poverty or homelessness or economy, education, whatever it is, but you did not like the policy the city council passed. Tell me what policy was passed, why didn't you not like it, and what would you do differently if you were elected for District 7? You have 7 minutes. I'm going to let you know with a 5 minute warning. 5 minute warning, and then yellow is a 2 minute warning, and then pinkish red is stop. And if you finish early, it's even better because it will allow me time to ask some questions back based on your answer, which is always a little bit better. But feel free to take the entire 7 minutes if it's a lot of nuance you want to get into,
Mhm.
because some policies are just that complicated. If you want to give the historical context, who passed it, who voted for it, whatever you want to do. And the clock starts now.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, this was a tough one for me. It really made me dig into my memory. Like, okay, let me see. Of course, I haven't agreed with all policies passed by City Council, so I really had to kind of give it a lot of thought. And the policy I wanted to talk about, it's not that I necessarily disagreed with it 100%. I think I had issues with how it was implemented. So for the past 10 years, I have been a member of ACE, which is a housing justice organization. So we do like renters' rights and fight for affordable housing. So that's kind of really been my passion for the past 10 years. They're the reason why I'm still housed to this day. So the policy that I was wanting to talk about was Measure W, which aimed to address homelessness and improve housing stability. So the goal was to use a parcel tax to fund affordable housing and homelessness services. Which, if that's all you hear, that's a great goal. That's a great thing to pursue. Now, people that were against it said like, oh, that's going to make housing actually more expensive because the financial burden is going to be on the property owner, and then the property owner in turn will raise rents. Um, so that was kind of what the naysayers were saying. And the issue that I had with Measure W is that it should be a more comprehensive strategy to include like not only funding through taxes, but also partnerships with local organizations and nonprofits, especially the Oakland Land Trust, which owns the house that I live in right now. And I always say, no matter what the council is doing, we need more community involvement. So involving community more to identify specific needs and priorities that the community has, and so we can have more targeted solutions. Because I think the the issue with Measure W is that it was kind of like a single response instead of a comprehensive response. So it's not that I was against the policy 100%. 100%, I do think it needed to be tweaked a little bit more.
So, did you notice that? And we got 4 minutes for a great discussion. And thank you for bringing up a measure. You're the first candidate to bring up an actual measure that led to a parcel tax. And
Mhm.
as you know, there are a couple of parcel tax on the ballot now, and the Alameda County Grand Jury gave a score, so to speak, to some of these parcel taxes. And one of the frequent complaints, particularly the two, Measure NN and one more I forgot, that were voted on in Oakland, is they said the same thing that you just said. And so I have a couple questions. When was Measure W passed? Because I don't know when it was passed.
2018.
2018. Oh
Yeah,
wow.
yeah.
And I'm very familiar with ACE. I used to be the East Bay director for SCIU 1021 from 2012 to 2014, and we work with ACE closely for a lot of advocacy work around housing and security and affordability. So when it comes to um, improvements, how would you? Because are we still collecting parcel taxes from this measure?
I believe so. Yeah.
And then do we rate Measure W the same way we made it Measure X and other ones for to balance our books, even though we weren't supposed to? I don't know if
Yeah.
you're aware of that, but we're rating our ballot measures right now for
Oh,
to
yeah.
balance our budget.
No, I wasn't aware.
It's
So
pretty alarming.
I got to do more homework. Yeah.
And people voted these parcel taxes in to address just take measure. I think it was Measure Y for the parks.
Hmm.
Measure Y at one point still has $18 million left in it,
Hmm.
and it was sitting there. Although our parks have been going neglected, in particular, I mean, look at the one in District 7.
Yeah.
Off of 99th that it's always getting trashed and then cleaned and trashed and cleaned. And they had money to address these issues. And the reason that they had the money was also to address the unhoused issues because they tend to consolidate around parks due to the water and some of the services and just being more of an open green area, which I understand. The problem is that, then it ends up being the sites for illegal dumping, which seems to be a pervasive issue with our encampment. So the question is about the solution. What do you do, or what would you propose to do to reform Measure W so that the funds are spent more efficiently?
Yeah. Well, um, like I was saying, like including um land trust, including other organizations, so the burden of the tax is just not on one group of people, meaning the property owners. So that needs to be spread out a little bit more. And I just wanted to throw out there, I have to do my research, but I live right in the middle of District 7 on 87th Avenue, and literally within this past month, three of the parks have been cleaned up and upgraded. So something is going on there. Uh,
Good.
yeah, yeah, and it's a nice surprise when you see, like, oh wow, look, it looks, brand new play structure, brand new flooring. How they put the little rubber things down for so kids don't get hurt. And so far I've seen three that have been remodeled, upgraded.
Well, we've seen them remodeled and upgraded, and then immediately sort of destroyed again. So we need to end that pattern. But I want to continue this. This is a great conversation. Before I move to the next question, which you could spend less time on if you like, or not. Um, what is a? I know the answer, but for people who are listening who don't know, you mentioned a land trust as a solution twice now. Could you tell
Yeah.
us what is a land trust? How does it work? And you live in a house paid for by a land trust. Take a good 4 minutes to talk about that, if you will. I think it's an important enough topic to sort of address a line of questioning. We have enough time for the rest of them. Don't worry. But tell us, what is a land trust, and why do you like them, and how would you use them to help solve our housing affordability crisis?
Okay, yeah, certainly. So the community land trust buys the land that the house is on, and then that way the home stays permanently affordable, because the people that live in the home can have a chance at ownership because the land is owned by the land trust. Now, I like the land trust because it takes ownership out of the speculator's hands. And this is kind of my one of my biggest issues with Oakland, period, is that these large corporations have been allowed to come in and buy up property in bulk, basically, and then drive up the prices without a care because their motto is profit over people, profit at all costs. And people,
And they have economies of scale in order to maneuver.
yes, and then people are displaced rapidly. I was almost one of those people.
Mm. I'm a renter as well. I don't have a rent to own from a land trust. Are you? So are you in a? Is it a, sort of a rent to own? Even if that's a crude way of describing it, is that simple enough for people to understand it? That
Yes,
your rent goes towards you owning a property. But do you have? Is that a must, or can you just be a renter as well and then rent
you,
from the land trust?
you could just be a renter, but the
So I
land
think
really is not in the business of being a landlord. So the goal really is to help the renter clean up their credit, learn what they need to learn about home ownership, and be in a position to take over ownership.
roughly how many homes in Oakland right now do you think are owned by land trusts? If you know, if you don't, that's fine. I don't know the answer to that
I,
one. So I'm actually asking for me.
I don't know exactly. We do have our resident meetings every month just for the Oakland Land Trust, and I believe, I'm not sure. I believe there's, I want to say maybe 60 properties, but I'm just guessing. I'm not
Oh,
sure.
that's good. Okay, so one more thing I want to say, and then
Sure.
I'll ask the rest of these questions. But I don't mind. Again, it's my show. We do what we want here. But all right. So I don't want to do any unfair, to other candidates to give you more time. But since I've never spoke to you or heard of you, and I'm really appreciating this conversation, I think I want to take it to a place that's a little more complicated. So you brought up the large corporations, which I actually have an issue with as well. However, I work with EBRA as sort of a public relations lobbyist of sorts, and that is
Mhm.
the East Bay. EBRA is the East Bay Rental Housing Association.
Oh,
Now,
oh,
EBRA is, I would believe, easily 70% small housing providers, if not, I'm sorry, 70% minority small housing providers. So they have, when I say small housing provider, it's because I don't like the landlord rhetoric, nor do I like to call people tenants. We have owners and renters. If you want to be more egalitarian, you say housing provider. And the reason that we've chose that term is because the surest bet for someone like myself is going to be someone who looks like me. I've never applied for and been approved for a corporate rental for one of those corporations you talk to. I've I've applied countless times, paid the $35 or $55. I never get accepted. And I would be housing insecure if it wasn't for Black people, who are the majority of people who have rented to me.
mhm,
And I'm 45, these 25 years, 24 years that I've lived in California, from San Diego, Los Angeles to now Oakland. And
mhm.
so right now, they're caught up in, because the small property owners, they don't get institutional money.
Yeah.
And the eviction moratorium took them out, and while it actually gave an advantage to the bigger people to swallow them up. And what we need right now is to end the war between the small housing providers and the renters and
Mhm.
form an alliance, because you're talking about descendants of Southern migrants and immigrants who work for these houses, right? And so it's causing a lot of conflict in Oakland. And I think it's unnecessary because people are posturing politically, and we're missing an opportunity. We're
Mhm.
missing an opportunity here to really align the small owners and the renters to do more things like land trust, or like land trust to me is a better opportunity than TOPA. I don't like TOPA. because TOPA forces someone to do something. Well, a land trust, you buy it, it's yours. The land trust can now decide. So I don't want to get into a debate here with you, maybe in the future, but what I would like to do is to put it on your heart, regardless of what happens in the selection, please be one of the people who help bring these two groups together,
I
the
agree.
renter and the small owners, not the big.
Right,
This
not the corporations. I agree 100%. And ACE is doing some of that work already as far as trying to reach out to these, what they call mom and pop landlords.
yes.
And because really we should be on the same side. I agree 100% with that. Because
We
these are,
should be, but it hasn't been that way, and it's because of agitation from people whose ulterior motive has nothing to do with housing poor people. This is my own personal opinion,
yeah,
because I've been demonized as a renter from some of these people for working for landlords, and I'm like, I'm working in the interest of people like the person who owns my house. And
yeah,
I can draw a distinction between big
yeah,
corporations who get institutional money
yeah.
and speculate people who speculate versus people who this is the house that they got from their auntie or big
Yeah.
mama
There's a
or something like that. Like we gotta look. I'm gonna get back on track for the interview, but I'm gonna leave this in it because this is the conversation that is not well. You said you're having it. I
yeah.
haven't seen it yet, and I will contact you after to help
Okay.
facilitate it because it's
Yes.
so important. Because people are manipulating both of these parties emotionally, and
Yes.
in that manipulation, there's a lot of money being made.
I
Okay,
agree 100%. I agree.
next up,
Hmm.
Section 218. Now, if you are elected for District 7,
Hmm.
there's a law that says that you can only contact the staff of a city outside of the mayor's office and city administrator's office for the purpose of inquiry only. You can only ask them stuff. You can't ask them to do stuff. So you
Right.
can ask for information, but you can't direct them.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
they're the ones who do the work. So how do you plan on navigating Section 218 in order to deliver on the promises, or I'm not saying you're making promises, but on what you're telling people you're going to do and to deliver to voters if we should elect you?
Yeah, I do. I do definitely have clear goals, and I think this is where having connections and relationships come into play. Because if you're having these ongoing conversations and you're clear about what your goals are, you won't need to direct someone to do something. Because hopefully you'll be on the same page about what needs to happen, and they'll make suggestions to me instead of me trying to enforce something onto them.
That's the best answer I've gotten yet.
Oh,
Thank you, Marika. You're the only person who's brought in the importance of the constituent understanding your goals and putting pressure on the elected. Not that you on the staff. Not that you said it that way, but that's what I took from that. Um, so I thank you for that. So that gives us a lot of time because you had so much time for that question. Let's talk about these goals. Oakland is in crisis.
mm,
District 7 in particular, as you were saying in the green room, whatever they call it, the lobby before the show, District 7 is the most neglected district in Oakland. It's not even close. And that little country called Deep East Oakland has remained our version of, let's say, and I don't mean to sensationalize Haiti at all, but it's gotten that dire. I mean, there are places there that look just as bad as anywhere I've seen. And
yeah,
our neighbors in T7 deserve a lot better. They need representation right now who's going to advocate for them. So, what are you going to do? How do you plan to use your vote if we vote for you and you get elected for District 7? What are you going to do? And I mean, like, not what is your plan to be effective and what is your clear you said you have clear goals, give us some clarity in your goals that you want to bring to Oakland.
yeah. I think we need to get District 7 stable, and I think the first, our number one and number two priority is housing and employment. I think we get people housed and employed, everything else falls into place. As long as those two things are out of whack, you got people living in just sheer desperation, just trying to survive. And I talk to people, neighbors, and everything that are they're worried about auto theft. They're worried about home invasion. They're worried about being robbed at gunpoint. They're worried about, these businesses that are being broken into and being burglarized. And I said, these are crimes of survival because people are out here desperate, not even knowing how they're going to make it. And I said, I have never met a person who said, I could go to my really good job or I could go do a home invasion. I think I'll go do the home invasion. That just doesn't happen. And, I tell these people, if you really don't want to worry about being robbed, let's get some on the job paid employment training going for people that have been displaced, because once you're homeless, it's a struggle to keep the job that you have, much less get a new one.
But
And
then you have self-medication, which is a
yeah,
natural response. Also, people have to stay up late, so people use stimulants to stay up late to guard their property. That turns into drug addiction.
yes,
Um, yeah, so there's an old rap line from a 19. I think the song came out in 2001 from Jay-Z and Philadelphia Freeway. What we do, it goes, even though what we do is wrong. I don't know if you remember that one because you're 60. I'm a little younger, but there's a line in it that says, "So when my heat stop working, then my heat start working. I'm gonna rob me a person, catch these people slipping wide out in the open, and I'm gonna get them." That's exactly what you just said. When
that's real.
people are, that's exactly what you just said. But, however, I will say this:
Yeah,
not a little general pushback. I agree with the overall premise that
yeah,
most crimes, especially of convenience and theft, are rooted in economic desperation. But
yeah,
because Oakland's lost our rule of law, we have a different kind of crime now. When someone cuts a hole in the roof and
hmm,
then tries to pull out a 20,000-pound safe in a series of sophisticated maneuvers. And they're
yeah,
keeping warehouses 3 counties away of stolen goods that they're fencing on Amazon for millions. Now
yeah,
you have organized crime, and that's a little bit different,
yeah,
right? And organized crime deals with, you also have drug smuggling. Drugs here are much cheaper than surrounding cities, meaning
mhm.
that the drug cartels are subsidizing
Wow,
drugs in the Bay Area. Oh, yes.
is
$1.50 a dose versus $5. The fact that I can get high for $1.50,
yeah,
something's going on here. And so for that type of crime, right, and for the public safety issue, root cause and structural fixes aside, what do you plan to advocate for in the short term and the right now to make sure that people are safe to run the businesses that they do have left, go to school, walk around, and not feel
yeah,
like they're going to be hurt?
yeah. And I think that's connected to a saying that I love is that no one cares about what you have to say until they know how much you care, right? And I think the fact that we've allowed these corporations to come in and buy property and throw people to the streets without a whim is the ultimate disrespect. I don't care about you at all, you know? And I think we have to do things to put that love and care in the community. And maybe that sounds corny, kumbaya, whatever, but we have to do things to show the community that we're putting a stop to this because we're not going to allow our people to be treated this way. So it's kind of like I can't allow you to be displaced, unemployed, living on the streets, no type of health care, no at all, and then worry about my property because I'm
Mm.
sending a clear message that my property is more important than your life. That needs to change. So this is like if nobody in District 7 cares about my life, like yeah, people are going to organize and do things survival and to like back in your face, right? So I think we really do need to invest in community, invest in organizations in the community that are doing the work, and people will see that.
And those communities would then become safer and not be
Yes,
right victim
yes,
for people who, the same way these illegal dumping. I have a big issue with illegal dumping,
yeah,
and I know that people pick places to illegally dump, but they know are not being watched. Which is, if we got a bunch of RVs somewhere, I'm gonna dump over there because the chances of me getting caught are less.
Yeah.
because of the surrounding laws. And now we have a city that's turned into a dump site. This is not
Yes.
this is not the trash of the people, some of it is, right? Because
Some of
think
it is.
about some of it is, but if think about if the inside of your house was outside, how it would look.
Yeah.
Most people got to clean up a little bit if I come over their house. You feel me?
Yeah.
So, but no, we be seeing burnt out the cars, the boats, and all that stuff. That's people putting that stuff there because they can get away with whatever they want, and
Yeah.
we need to have more pride in our communities. And I'm loving that you said employment and the importance of actually having jobs. Businesses are not coming to Oakland right now because it's not safe.
Right. So we have to make Oakland safe, but we have to make Oakland stable. And I can't stress this enough. So, like I said, I was born and raised.
Stable. I love that. You're the only person using that word right now
Yeah.
politically.
Yeah. And yeah, I was born and raised in San Francisco. So I grew up in the foster care system and was eventually adopted. So I really lived through what stable housing looks like versus not. And
Mm,
I feel like that's just a micro representation of what's going on a larger scale. That District 7 is not stable. And I feel like the illegal dumping started with these rapid evictions. How many corporate landlords just put all the stuff on the curb, and the person doesn't even have a chance to pack or don't have any money because they was already living paycheck to paycheck to pay for storage or pay a moving truck or anything. And then most of the stuff, once it's on the curb, gets stolen, and that's depressing. Oh,
very much so. Well, it
oh, yeah,
perpetuates the cycle of poverty because
yeah,
you can't get out of it if you can't
yeah,
get any footing or stability, if you
yeah,
can't get stable. Please keep using that word. I think it's a powerful word to illustrate exactly just how desperate it is for people. And it's something that a lot of our voters got money. Oakland is a very
right.
the financialization of our economy created a two-tier city where if you have assets, you're most likely in a different financial position than people who have no property or stocks or bonds. Even people who have good jobs, so to speak, but if you don't actually have any assets, then your wealth is getting inflated away much quicker than your job is paying.
Yeah.
Um, I have enjoyed this conversation. I have one final question for you, and
Okay.
then I'll go edit this slightly, just to take out the beginning
Hmm.
and put it out so that people may hear more about you. Are there any final thoughts or messages that you would like to leave with voters in District 7 as to why they should vote for you in one of their ranked choice voting selections, if not the first position?
Yeah. Well, the thing that I can say is that District 7 has kind of had the same leadership for a lot of years. And if you want something different, you have to do something different. And, I am from the Bay Area, born and raised. I've lived here all of my life, lived in the East Bay all of my adult life. And I feel like I really love this area and love the people here. And I know we deserve better. And, I'm bringing heart to it. I have heart and skin in this. And for that reason, I would love it if I would be your number one choice.
Well, thank you. Well, you are in a three-way race. Is that correct?
Four.
For
Well,
who's the fourth?
well, there's
Oh no, Rowena.
what's
No,
that?
it's not Rowena. Rowena's running for at large.
No, there's three ladies and one guy.
Who's? I know Ken Houston. I know Iris. Now
Uh-huh.
I know you. Who's the other? Who's the other person?
Marcy Hodge.
Oh, of course. Duh. Got to get Marcy on the show. I know
Yeah.
Marcy. Yes. Well, this is great. We are guaranteed to have someone who is not a Reed for the
Right.
first time. So we're going to get changed no matter what. So hopefully, if you're watching,
Well, there's one person that was worked so closely with the Reeds, it kind of feels more of the same.
oh, who is that? You can name names here. That's what we're here for.
Okay, well, Iris was,
Iris is with the. She is definitely the most establishment candidate.
yeah,
Um,
she
that
was
had this.
Larry Reed's chief of staff, and she did some work closely with Treva as well.
Copy that. Well, now she is chief of staff for Janani, a
Yes,
district court city council person.
correct.
Two
Yeah,
look at that. There's a variety of ways to look at that. One is that they have the experience to at least understand the job, and then the other is that you're getting potentially more of the same because,
Right.
as you said, if you don't change stuff, it's hard to go a new direction.
Mhm.
However, I will let Iris come on the show and tell people what she plans to do, and
Right.
give everyone who will come a proper platform. The website is up there for those who want to go and click on it. I've given it a whirl. It's I think that we need a hands-on person in District 7.
Yeah.
I'm not a person who is, um, I'm post-partisan. I didn't make it up, but I'm pretty much the only person I know using it. I don't do up down. I don't do left right anymore. I go
Mhm.
up down. Either you have integrity or you don't. Either you believe in the radical accessibility of the things that we all need to sustain our life, and when you think about it, they are all in jeopardy: air, water, food, shelter.
Right.
Every one of those is in jeopardy for people right now who are poor. And we need radical accessibility for all of those things that we need to sustain our life. But they are community endeavors,
Yeah.
right? No one's ever been able to do these things alone. And so we need to understand that we're going to need each other. And the next turning is not going to be an easy one, but I have a lot of faith in Oakland. And people like you are one of the reasons. I've enjoyed this conversation. I want to follow up and connect Ace with Ebra. We have to get these two people talking, and we
Yeah.
will get some real good policy that's not pitting people against each other who are in the same boat at this point, and they're not the Black Rocks or the institutional hedge funds who are using freaking monopoly money. Let's keep it real. They don't earn their money. It's evil. I think it's evil. I think the Federal Reserve printing money and giving it to people that can compete with us for goods and services when we have to work and scrape and bleed and stress over every dollar. I think it's immoral. And I think that more people from diverse groups of thought that don't like the system, we need to stop the fighting. So I hope to have more people who lean more progressives on the show. And I really, really appreciate you coming on and sharing with all of our viewers what you got. You probably get about 100 eyes on this before Election Day. I'm working really hard to get as many eyes on these videos as possible. So I will be your personal publicist for, I don't know what happened to you. You disappeared. Maybe her phone died. But hey, guys, we already ended the interview. I think Merika's phone must have perished and went into the Netherlands. But great
I
interview.
can't hear anymore.
Oh, I can hear her. She's back with the audio. All right, she
Yeah.
did not perish into the Netherlands. I thought your battery died, but
Yeah. No, I
she's
don't know
back.
what happened. Yes.
Oh, it's
Yes.
fine, but you're back just to say goodbye. But at least you came
Okay.
back for that privilege and give a peace to everyone in Oakland. Love each other.
Yes.
We're going to need each other to get through this. Vote with your heart and your mind and pay
Yeah.
attention to every candidate. Not just people who have the money or the people with the money, rather, to flood the streets, the mailbox with fancy glossy flyers. We need to listen to the people who are putting their hearts and soul in this race, who are regular neighbors, who actually live in these districts, who want to see these things get better. And so, thank you.
Thank you.
Peace out again, and God bless everyone.
Yo, I swear it's only up from here. Yo, I swear it's only up from here. Yo, I swear it's only up from here. Yo, I swear it's only up from here.